Welcome back to the channel. You can spot a piece of PET here, and today we are going to turn this 1541 into a disk drive for the PET. And this will be a reversible mod, so there's no soldering on the actual 1541 required, and you can always revert it to a C64 drive. Let's do this. So why turn a 1541, which is a usable disk drive for the C64 and VIC-20 and stuff, into a disk drive for the PET? Well, first of all, the PET disk drives are pretty expensive, pretty unreliable, at least if you buy them, and they tend to be dead, and you have to clean them and fix them, and it's pretty hard to fix them because some of the parts are not readily available. And most of you already have a 1541, so why not use this if it's possible? The problem is that a standard 1541 has this standard round serial connector for the C64, and the PET uses an interface which was originally invented by HP, and Commodore used this, and it's called the IEEE 488 interface, and that is a 24-pin connector which looks a little bit like the user port of the C64 on the PET and like a Centronics cable on the other side. So, how do we get the 1541, which has a totally different protocol, totally different operating system inside, to work with the PET? And for that, there's actually an adapter board, and here is the board. It's a small board which will be plugged into the 1541, and to do this we have to build this interface board. We have to build a proper cable to connect the 1541 with this interface, which is connected here to the cable to the PET. We have to burn a new kernel for the 1541. To do this we need a 2764 EEPROM, because the 2364 EEPROMs are not readily available, so we need an adapter to build and to put it in there, and then we will assemble and test it. So for those of you who don't know, there actually is a disk drive which looks like a 1541, which is called the SFD 1001 or 100i, depending on how you read the description on the label. But that is not a 1541, it's a totally different disk drive. It's still a single floppy disk drive, so it only has a read head on one side, and that is compatible with the 8250, but not with the classic 4040 drives, the double disk drives, or the 1541. So you could technically read disks created on the 4040, 3040, 2040 disk drive with our modified 1541 disk drive. So just to make this clear, I'm not the inventor of this interface. This interface was actually invented by someone back in the 80s, and it was published in the very popular German Commodore 64 magazine 64. And a guy called Nikolas Becker tried to build the interface, and he's the one who came up with a design for that. And you can see it says here, copyright February 2015 by Nikolas Becker, VC 1541 to IEEE 488. And I was working on this for a year, and not because it's very hard to solder. You can actually do this in, let's say, an hour or two, including the cable. But my PET actually had some defective chips, and so yeah, I thought the interface was broken, but in reality it was a PET, and I ordered the PET disk and was finally able to read and write to an SD card, and then plugged in the interface, and it actually worked. So great news on that front. There's also a Commodore 3040 repair, which I started a while ago, and you may have seen part 1, and I'm still doing part 2 and repairing that, and now I can finally finish that. So I'm very happy to finish this year-old project. Yeah, that's for the origin of this project, and this board is available. I will put all the links in the description below if you want to build one yourself, and we will go into more detail while I'll build this. So let me talk you through the assembly of the interface first. Then we build the cable, then we burn the kernel, and then we go and assemble and test it. Okay, so I got one of my created boards right here. And let's put this into my helping hand. So let's start with the 3.3 kilo ohm resistors, which go into R1 and R2, which is up here. And there's a second one. Then we have some diodes, and these are 1N4148. We have 3 of them. By the way, these have a polarity, and the black head of this can be aligned with a black, or in this case white stripe on the board. Make sure to have the polarity. They have these triangles, and the top of the triangle always points to the black stripe here. So putting this in now, we have 3 of these. Make sure to get this nice and flush so that the cover of the 1541 still fits on top. Then we have some ceramic capacitors, which should be around here somewhere. And these are 100 nanofarad. And these have no polarity, so you can put them in any way you like. And these go to C4 to C1 to C4. Okay, I guess we should start solder stuff. Okay, nice. That's on there. And now we are going to solder the contacts that go into the 1541. So this does replace the 6522 that will be put on top here in the socket. And we have to solder some of these to go in here. Okay, so maybe let's start with the 2 jumper pins, which are also of that variety. So these will come in a minute. And then let's do these first. And these go here and here. And keep them in place with this. First one in. Okay, so the jumper connectors are in. And let's maybe continue with the sockets. So we have the notch down here, and so we put in the sockets like this. And I like to bend one of the socket pins on each side inside, so that the socket stays in place, and that always works just fine. And we go on and solder. Okay, first socket is in. Let's do the next one. Okay, 2 in, and there's a smaller socket which goes here. Notch is again pointing down. Okay, so that's all in there. We have the larger socket which goes here, but first we have to solder the pins on the underside, so that the other pins, you have a pin row that's on the outside and one on the inside here. So if you're wondering how that works, this is how it's supposed to be. So the socket is aligned completely to the right side. Okay, so I will get another socket to put these pins in, and then we will solder. Okay, so the only socket I could find that would match the description was this ZIF socket. So I will use this one. Put these in, and then connect the pins into the board. Okay, so let's solder this on here. And the way this works is not unlike the Speed DOS mods or Dolphin DOS mods for the 1541, in that you put in an adapter board which has its own cable, which then goes to the PET. So the serial connection is not used in this case. And I always like to solder from the side, because it's much easier not to interfere with the above and below connections. Okay, that's in. So let's release the socket, and there it goes. And that is pretty straight. Nice. Okay, very nice. So now there goes this socket on top. And that fits nicely. And we will have to solder in this row below here and this row below here. That is a little challenge here to get in there, but since I managed to solder the handheld 64, that should not be so much of a problem. Nice. It looks good. Okay, so I guess, except for the connector here, we are almost there. And you need one of those 2-row pin connectors. They have an edge here. And this goes here, or at least part of that, which is about that much. Break that off. Yep, got it. So this has to look like this in the end. Okay, that's the board. This is all we need, and now we populate this with the appropriate components, and just so there's no marking what goes where, so I have to look this up. So you need one of these 74 LS136N. That goes in here. Make sure to check the notch and press firmly. Put in the SN75161AN, and we also have this one, and I only have one of these, which is the 75160AN. And this looks like it was salvaged from Satan's ass. Don't know if this is a rust or what it is. I just hope that it works, because I paid $10 alone for this. So let's put it in here, notch down. See that we don't bend any legs. And the big socket is populated with the 6522 from the 1541, so we have to lift that out of there and put that in there. The other ICs, by the way, were pretty easy to find. Did get them from our local electronics store, Reichelt. Okay, that's in there too. Nice, so there's not much more to do here, except for, wait, one thing. We have to close the jumpers, I guess. Okay, so I need to come up with some jumpers, and then we're good to go. So that is the build of this little board that gets stuck into the 1541. And we will have to build the cable now and try it out. And let's not forget to burn the EEPROM, which also has to go into the 1541. So it's a little more complex build.
Thank you for watching Retro is the New Black. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you like the video, please share. Every like, share, and comment helps a lot. Until next time, bye-bye.